As they say, the smart criminals go into politics and business. The rest, they go to jail. Well, today we're going to meet some of the world's dumbest robbers and see how they pulled off the funniest crimes ever. I'm Mike with List 25, and these are the world's dumbest criminal stories committed by the 25 dumbest criminals hard to believe. #25. Reuben Arathi. In 2008, Reuben walked into a muffler shop with the intent of robbing it. Unfortunately for Reuben, only the manager, who wasn't there at the time, could open the safe. So Reuben, being the canny criminal that he is, left his phone number with the employee and instructed him to call when the manager came back. The employee then called the police. They instructed the employee to call Reuben and tell him the manager had returned. Whew, poor Reuben was in for a surprise. #24. David Zerfla. Although he wasn't a robber or a thief, 18-year-old David was caught by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police in the town of Settler for drunk driving. While sitting in the back of the patrol car, he apparently tried to eat his underwear. He thought it would absorb the alcohol in his stomach and allow him to pass the breathalyzer test. #23. Mohammed Ayoub. Mohammed Ayoub was a Taliban commander in Afghanistan. That is, until he turned himself in to collect the $100 reward that was being offered for his capture. Apparently, the Taliban doesn't pay very well at all. #22. The Derbyshire Dozen. Well, it was actually more than a dozen. It was 19 criminals in all. So, what happened, you ask? These British criminals tried to evade the law for various crimes, so the Derbyshire police came up with an interesting plan. Undercover police sent the criminals messages telling them they won free beer. Unable to resist, they showed up at the pickup spot to find police officers instead of beer cans. #21. Frankie Blake Jr. When Frank's second and third wives both showed up to visit him in a Virginia jail, police realized that he hadn't divorced his second wife before marrying his third. They then realized that he hadn't divorced his first wife either. Frank's polygamy ended up adding some time to his sentence. #20. Patrick Rempe. Usually, people try to break out of jail. In Florida, though, they try to break into jail. After getting high on flakka, a synthetic stimulant, this Indian County resident tried to drive his car into the local jail. Apparently, he just wanted to visit his friends. Well, he'll have plenty of time to do that now. #19. The Bear Suit Guy. Although police in Anchorage, Alaska still haven't managed to identify any suspects, they're looking for a man who allegedly went around harassing bears while wearing a bear suit. Either way, it doesn't seem like the situation will end well for the Bear Suit Guy. He might actually be better off getting arrested, for his own good. #18. Releford Cooper III. After leading police on a high-speed chase through Manatee County, Florida, Releford was eventually arrested. His excuse for the reckless behavior? His dog was driving the car. Of course, no dog was anywhere to be found. #17. Klaus Schmidt. Shortly after Klaus pulled out his gun to rob a bank in Berlin, Germany, the staff noticed something strange. Klaus wasn't responding to their questions unless he was looking directly at them. One of the employees deduced that Klaus must be deaf and pulled the alarm. Sure enough, Klaus remained oblivious. To make the story even more unbelievable, he ended up trying to sue the bank because it exploited his disability. #16. Dennis Hawkins. In 2010, Pittsburgh resident Dennis Hawkins tried to rob a bank wearing a blonde wig, fake breasts, and clown pants. To make things even worse for our amateur crook, while making his getaway, the dye from the money exploded and got all over him. Needless to say, he stood out from a mile away. #15. The Banana Bandit. Okay, so she's not really a bandit, but an unnamed Swedish woman from Skåne ended up being fined because she ran onto a bus and attacked the driver with a banana. Her reason? He almost ran her over. 14. Here's My Gun. Although we don't know his name, in 2012, a robber tried to hold up the Halifax Bank in the City of London. When he was about to give his bag to the cashier to fill up with cash, he accidentally handed over his gun. After quickly realizing his silly mistake, the thief took off on a bank worker's bike. 13. Devin Gessel. In 2015, this St. Peters, Missouri teenager robbed Deborah Matthews' house with two friends who were minors. Names of minors aren't normally released. One of their pieces of loot looked like cocaine, so they tasted it. What they didn't realize was that it was the ashes of Mrs. Matthews' grandfather. Even crazier, the two minors were actually related to Mrs. Matthews and her grandfather. 12. Darren Kimpton. In February 2013, Darren was scoping out houses that he could rob in Abington, UK. He eventually found the perfect target. As he broke in to do his dirty deed, he stumbled across a house full of police officers. What he hadn't realized was that this exact house had been broken into less than an hour ago, and the police were still there. 11. Zachary Tentoni. There are a lot of silly things a would-be robber can leave behind at the scene of a crime. Possibly the worst would be a birth certificate. However, 26-year-old Zachary of Boston did just that when he snatched $40 from a woman in 2013. In the process of fleeing the scene, he left behind a couple bags, which contained his birth certificate, along with a note from his mother, too. He's probably grounded for a while. 10. Renault Jr. Plaisir. After breaking into a Manchester, New Hampshire home, Renault found some chicken wings in the refrigerator. He decided to help himself and fell asleep on the couch after a long day of robbery. Unfortunately for Renault, he overslept. The owner of the house wasn't very happy with him. These days, Renault has plenty of time to catch up on lost sleep in a jail cell. 9. Christopher Wallace. In 2015, Christopher decided to do some petty theft in Pierce Pond, Maine. The police eventually found him hiding in his closet because he had been sharing photos of his loot on Snapchat. 8. Maganda Magana. Okay, without saying anything about this guy's name, in 2014, Maganga decided to try stealing a car from a woman in Omaha, Nebraska. Unfortunately for him, the car was a manual, something he was unfamiliar with. He tried desperately for 7 minutes to start the car, after which the police showed up and arrested him. 7. Albert Bailey. In 2010, Albert decided to rob a store in Connecticut. His plan? Call the store in advance so that they can have the money ready and Albert can make his escape. Albert's plan was nearly perfect, except for one obvious flaw. The police were waiting outside when Albert came around to pick up his cash. 6. Christopher Briggs. When the Texas native showed up in front of the White House carrying a backpack full of ammo, he was surprised to be arrested. Apparently, he was just going to, quote, shoot a couple of rounds. 5. Michelle Estumian. A California resident, Michelle was arrested for forging prescriptions. During her trial, she brought in a doctor's note to delay her sentencing. It turned out to be a forgery. 4. The Donkey Thieves. Of course, no serious bank robber would ever consider using a donkey as a getaway vehicle. They're way too slow and unreliable. Well, that didn't stop a band of thieves in Juan de Acosta, Colombia. First, they stole Zavi, the donkey. Then they tried to steal the cash. Unfortunately for the thieves, Zavi didn't cooperate and ended up running away with the loot attached to his back. 3. LaDondrelle Montgomery. Houston resident LaDondrelle was being sentenced to life in prison for armed robbery when his attorney uncovered some very critical evidence. He was in jail at the time of the crime. Although he had insisted on his innocence, LaDondrelle had failed to recall that one critical fact. 2. Philmene Caesar. When Pennsylvania robber Philmene decided to represent himself in court, he caused the jury to break out into laughter after asking a witness what the robber sounded like. "He sounded like you," came the surprising response. 1. Levi Charles Reardon. After the city of Great Falls, Montana posted a wanted image on their Facebook page for Levi on charges of forgery, our brilliant mastermind decided to like the post. Not surprisingly, he was arrested a few weeks later. Enjoying our lists? Be sure to click that subscribe button in the bottom right so you don't miss out on new ones every Monday through Friday. Share them with your friends and help us consistently conciliate curiosity. And if you want even more lists, check out these 3 videos here or just head to our website at list25.com.